your work. It means focusing more on doing than on being seen doing. As you embrace
gaming from the people who connect your life. Search EE Game Store.
Singapore. I met a young man who 10 years ago in the bustling streets of Singapore. I met a young man who asked me the $1 million question. He was sitting at the back of my seminar room, fingers nervously tapping on his notebook, eyes burning with intensity. As everyone else filed out for the break, he approached me, his voice trembling. I've done everything right. He said, I've read every book, attended every seminar, written every goal, but nothing's happening. Nothing's changing. Then he leaned in closer and whispered, I keep waiting for my big break. When will someone discover my potential? I looked at him for a long moment. And in his eyes, I saw the same look I've seen in thousands of faces across the globe. The look of someone waiting to be rescued. Someone waiting for the magical moment when success would tap them on the shoulder and say, it's your turn now. And in that moment, I shared with him the truth that would transform his life forever. The same truth I'm about to share with you right now. You see, as I stand here today, I'm not here to motivate you. I'm not here to inspire you. I'm here to wake you up, because the most dangerous person in your life, the person holding you back from everything you've ever dreamed of, everything you've ever wanted, is staring back at you in the mirror every morning. That young man in Singapore, today he owns one of the largest tech startups in Southeast Asia. Not because someone discovered him, not because someone gave him permission, but because he finally understood the fundamental truth that I'm about to share with you, the truth about why nobody, absolutely nobody, will do it for you. Let me show you why. Every morning, millions of people across this planet wake up and do something remarkable. They lie to themselves. The lie is subtle, comfortable, and incredibly dangerous. It's the lie that says, I'm waiting for the right moment. The lie that whispers, someone will notice my talent eventually. The lie that soothes, it's not my fault. The circumstances aren't right. Your comfort zone isn't really comfortable at all. It's a prison cell with soft walls and pleasant decorations. And the most frightening thing about this prison, you are both the prisoner and the guard. I want you to think about something for a moment. When you were born, did the doctor hand your parents a manual that said, here are the limitations of your child? Did anyone stamp on your birth certificate, this human being is only capable of achieving X amount of chi? Of course not. These limitations, every single one of them, were installed later, installed by society, by fear, by past failures, and most importantly, by you. Let me share with you a story that changed my perspective forever. In the mountains of northern Thailand, I met an old bamboo farmer named Swan. For 20 years, he had been cultivating a particular type of bamboo that was highly sought after by luxury furniture makers. When I visited his farm, I saw acres of magnificent bamboo towers stretching 40 feet into the sky. But what he told me next stopped me in my tracks. For the first 4 years, Swan said, his weathered hands resting on a bamboo stalk. Nothing happens above the ground. Nothing. People called me crazy. My own family thought I had lost my mind. Every day, I would water and tend to what looked like empty soil. He smiled, pointing to the towering bamboo around us. But underneath, something magical was happening. The bamboo was building an elaborate root system, spreading deep and wide. And then, in the 5th year, something extraordinary occurs. The bamboo grows 90 feet in just 6 weeks. Let that sink in for a moment. 4 years of seemingly nothing. 4 years of doubt. 4 years of people questioning his sanity. 4 years of apparent failure. But Swan understood something that most of us forget. Success doesn't happen in the timeline we can see. It happens first in the invisible realm of preparation, persistence, and unwavering belief. Right now, many of you are in your 4th year. You're watering the soil, doing the work, and seeing nothing. The reality in your mirror shows no progress, no growth, no success. That mirror is lying to you. Because just like swan's bamboo, your success is building its foundation beneath the surface. But here's the critical difference between you and that bamboo. The bamboo doesn't have a choice about growing. It's programmed to do so. You, on the other hand, have something far more powerful. You have the ability to choose. You can choose to keep watering the soil even when everyone else has given up. You can choose to believe in your growth even when there's no external evidence. You can choose to break free from the prison of your comfort zone. The reality is this. The mirror doesn't show you your potential. It doesn't show you your future. It only shows you your current reflection, a reflection that you have the power to change. Every time you look in that mirror, you're not just seeing yourself, you're seeing every decision you've ever made. And more importantly, every decision you're about to make. When you look in that mirror tomorrow morning, what will you choose to see? Will you see the limitations, the excuses, the comfortable lies? Or will you see what Swan saw when he looked at his empty fields? The potential for extraordinary growth. Because here's the truth that most people never grasp. The mirror of reality isn't a window through which you observe your life. It's a tool with which you create it. And just like swan's bamboo, your growth might not be visible to others yet. But that doesn't make it any less real. The only question is, are you willing to keep watering the soil? Your limitations aren't carved in stone. They're drawn in sand. And you hold the power to wash them away with the tide of your decisions. But remember this, nobody will do this for you. Nobody will erase those lines in the sand except you. Nobody will water your bamboo except you. The mirror of reality shows you exactly what you've created up until this moment. But what happens next? That's entirely up to you. Have you ever calculated the cost of waiting? Not in dollars and cents, but in dreams unrealized, in opportunities evaporated, in lives unchanged. Let me tell you something that might disturb your peace. Time doesn't wait for your courage to catch up with your dreams. I met a painter in Paris last autumn. She was serving coffee in a small cafe near Montmartre, the artist district. Her hands, stained with traces of paint, moved gracefully as she prepared espressos. I asked her about her art, and her eyes lit up as she described the paintings. But when I asked to see her gallery, her expression changed. "Oh, I don't have a gallery," she said. "I'm waiting for the right time to show my work." The art market is quite competitive right now. Perhaps next year, when conditions improve. Her voice trailed off, and in that moment, I saw something that broke my heart. On the wall behind her hung a painting, not hers, that had a soul for your 12,000. The artist who painted it was younger than her, less experienced than her, but there was one crucial difference. That artist hadn't waited for perfect timing. Let me share something with you that the world's most successful people understand. Perfect timing is a myth. It's a comfortable excuse we use to justify our fear of failure. If you're waiting for all the traffic lights to turn green before you leave your house, you'll never start your journey. Every single day you wait has a price tag attached to it. Every morning you wake up saying tomorrow. You're not just postponing your dreams. You're actively choosing your current reality over your potential. And here's the most frightening part. The price of waiting compounds like negative interest on a debt you never agreed to take on. I learned this lesson personally, and it cost me dearly. In 1998, I had an opportunity to invest in a small technology startup. The founders were passionate. The business plan was solid. And my gut told me this was something special. I told myself I needed more time to research, more time to think, more time to be sure. That company went public 3 years later, a $10,000 investment would have turned into $2.3 million. But that's not even the real cost. The real cost was in the relationships I could have built, the knowledge I could have gained, the lives I could have impacted through that connection. The price of waiting isn't just measured in lost opportunities or unrealized profits. It's measured in the person you could have become. Every day you wait, that person. Your potential self grows more distant, more foreign, until one day they become a stranger you'll never meet. And here's what makes this even more urgent. The world isn't waiting for you to get ready. Right now, someone less qualified than you is out there getting the results you want. Someone less talented than you is making the impact you dream of making. Someone less prepared than you is taking the chances you're afraid to take. Why? Because they understand something fundamental. Action, even imperfect action, is infinitely more valuable than perfect inaction. If you had started that business 5 years ago, where would you be today? If you had begun that degree 3 years ago, what would you be qualified to do now? If you had started saving and investing 2 years ago, what would your financial situation look like? The price of waiting isn't just what you lose. It's what you never get to experience. It's the versions of yourself you never get to meet. It's the lives you never get to touch. It's the impact you never get to make. Nobody can pay this price for you. Nobody can give you back the time you've lost. Nobody can live the life you're postponing. That responsibility, that power lies solely with you. What's your waiting costing you? What dreams are collecting dust on the shelf of someday? What gifts are you withholding from the world because you're waiting for the perfect moment? The perfect moment is a luxury none of us can afford. The only moment you can count on is now. And what you do with this moment will determine every moment that follows. Stand up right now, wherever you are. I want you to stand up. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Feel the air in your lungs. Feel the blood coursing through your veins. What you're experiencing right now is the most sophisticated, advanced, and powerful machine ever created in the known universe, the human body and mind. But let me tell you about Olivia. I met her in a small town in Arizona where she ran a modest bookkeeping service. When I first walked into her office, something caught my eye, a small model of a commercial aircraft sitting on her desk. Her eyes followed mine to the model. And she smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. I wanted to be a pilot, she said, since I was 6 years old. But you know how it is. Some people are just born for certain things and others aren't. I'm not one of the special ones. I asked her, who told you that? The question hung in the air like smoke. And I watched as decades of accumulated beliefs began to crack. You see, Olivia had fallen victim to one of the most dangerous myths in human history, the myth that potential is a privilege reserved for a select few. Let me share something powerful with you. In the realm of human potential, there are universal laws that govern every single person on this planet. These laws don't discriminate based on your background, your education, your bank account, or your past failures. They operate with the same consistency as gravity, whether you believe in them or not. The first law is this: your potential is not a fixed quantity. It's not a preset limit installed at birth. Your potential is more like a muscle. The more you challenge it, the more it grows. The more you feed it with knowledge, with action, with belief, the more it expands. The second law is even more crucial. Your potential doesn't require anyone's permission to be unleashed. It's not waiting for validation from your parents, your teachers, your boss, or society. It's waiting for one thing and one thing only: your decision to claim it. This reminds me of a story I witnessed in the mountains of Peru. A shepherd found an eagle's egg and placed it in a chicken coop. The eagle hatched among chickens, was raised among chickens, and believed it was a chicken. It pecked at the ground for worms. It clucked and scratched like a chicken. And it never flew more than a few feet off the ground. One day, A naturalist passed by and saw this magnificent eagle living among the chickens. He was shocked. He picked up the eagle, took it to a mountaintop, and said, "You are not a chicken. You are an eagle. You belong not to the ground, but to the sky. Stretch out your wings and fly." The eagle looked around, trembling. All it had ever known was the chicken coop. All it had ever been taught was to be a chicken. But something stirred deep within its DNA, an ancient memory of wind beneath wings, of soaring above mountains, of being what it was truly born to be. And then it spread its wings and flew. You see, like that eagle, many of us are living in a chicken coop of our own making. We're surrounded by people who tell us to be realistic, to stay grounded, to accept our limitations. We've been taught to peck at the ground when we were born to soar through the skies. But here's what separates humans from that eagle. We have the power of conscious choice. We can choose at any moment to reject the chicken coop mentality. We can choose to stop pecking at the ground and start soaring toward our dreams. Your potential isn't waiting for someone to discover it. It's waiting for you to claim it. It's your birthright, as natural and inherent as your right to breathe, to dream. When I told this to Olivia, she sat quietly for a long moment. Then she opened her drawer and pulled out a pilot's training manual. It was dug-eared and worn. She'd been reading it in secret for years, too afraid to admit her dream out loud. 2 years later, I received a photo from her. She was standing in front of a commercial aircraft, wearing a pilot's uniform, her smile radiant with the joy of someone who has finally claimed their birthright of potential. You see, Olivia wasn't patient, became a pilot. She became a pilot because she finally understood she was already special, just like every single one of you in this room. The only difference between the life you're living and the life you're capable of living is your willingness to claim your birthright of potential. But remember this, and this is crucial, nobody else can claim it for you. Nobody can spread your wings for you. Nobody can take that first leap off the mountain for you. That power, that responsibility lies solely in your hands. Your potential is not a question of ability, it's a question of choice. Every morning when you wake up, you're making a choice. Will you live like a chicken, pecking at the ground of mediocrity? Or will you spread your wings and soar like the eagle you were born to be? The answer to that question will determine not just your future, but the future of every life you're meant to touch. Every dream you're meant to realize, every impact you're meant to make. What's your choice going to be? Look at your hands. These two hands you possess, they hold something extraordinary. Not just flesh and bone, but the power to sculpt your destiny. Yet so many of us spend our lives pointing these hands at everything and everyone else, assigning responsibility for our circumstances to forces beyond our control. Let me tell you about David. I met him in Hong Kong, where he was working as a janitor in a high-rise office building. Every night, while cleaning the offices of successful executives, he would study their habits, their documents, their strategies. But he did something different from other janitors. He took responsibility for his education. They don't know they're my professors, he told me with a gleam in his eye. Every discarded presentation, every forgotten notebook, every conversation I overhear while cleaning, it's my personal MBA. 3 years later, David owned a successful commercial cleaning company with contracts in 5 major cities, not because someone gave him an opportunity, not because he inherited wealth, but because he understood something profound about personal responsibility. Your circumstances may not be your fault, but they are your responsibility. You see, there's a fundamental difference between fault and responsibility. Fault looks backward, searching for someone to blame. Responsibility looks forward, searching for someone to act. And here's the truth that most people never grasp. You don't need to be at fault to take responsibility. Think about this when you're driving a car and someone ahead of you suddenly brakes. Is it your fault? No. But is it your responsibility to react and avoid an accident? Absolutely. Your life works the same way. The circumstances you were born into, the challenges you face, the setbacks you've experienced, they might not be your fault, but your response to them, that's entirely your responsibility. I want to share something powerful with you. Every single success story you admire started with someone taking responsibility for their own destiny. Steve Jobs didn't wait for someone to hand him the future of personal computing. Oprah Winfrey didn't wait for someone to hand her a media empire. They grabbed responsibility with both hands and refused to let go. But here's where most people get stuck. They're trapped in what I call the dependency cycle. They're waiting for the perfect mentor, the right connections, the ideal circumstances. They're caught in the loop of if only thinking. If only I had better education. If only I had more money. If only I knew the right people. Let me tell you something, success is not a dependent variable. It's not waiting for external factors to align. Success is an independent decision you make every single day, regardless of your circumstances. I saw this truth exemplified in a woman named Maya, who started her business in a refugee camp with nothing but a sewing machine and an unwavering sense of responsibility for her family's future. Today, her fashion brand employs over 50 other refugees. She didn't wait for aid organizations to solve her problems. She didn't wait for better circumstances. She took complete ownership of her situation. You see, personal responsibility is not just about taking credit for your successes, it's about taking ownership of your failures, your challenges, and most importantly, your growth. It's about understanding that no one owes you anything, not success, not happiness, not fulfillment. These are not entitlements, they are achievements. But here's the most liberating part about personal responsibility. It gives you back your power. When you stop outsourcing responsibility for your life, you reclaim the power to change it. When you stop waiting for someone else to fix your problems, you develop the capability to solve them yourself. Think about it this way. Every time you blame someone else for your situation, you're handing them the keys to your future. Every time you make an excuse, you're signing away your power to change. Every time you wait for someone else to take responsibility, you're volunteering for a life of dependency. The truth is, nobody is coming to rescue you. Nobody's going to work harder for your dreams than you. Nobody is going to want your success more than you do. And that's not a tragedy, it's an opportunity. Because it means your future is in your hands, not someone else's. So let me ask you something. What are you taking responsibility for right now? What aspects of your life are you still outsourcing to others? What excuses are you ready to abandon? Because here's the ultimate truth about personal responsibility. It's not a burden. It's a superpower. It's the difference between being a passenger in your life and being the driver. It's the difference between waiting for opportunities and creating them. It's the difference between hoping for success and ensuring it. The power of personal responsibility isn't just about owning your circumstances. It's about owning your potential to change them. And that power, nobody can give it to you. And nobody can take it away. It's already yours. The only question is, are you ready to use it? Your mind is a library of knowledge. But knowledge without action is like having a Ferrari with no fuel, impressive to look at. But it won't take you anywhere. Let me share something profound with you. There's a fundamental difference between knowing the path and walking the path. I was in Tokyo last year, visiting a martial arts dojo. The sensei there told me something that changed my perspective forever. He said, in martial arts, we don't practice until we get it right. We practice until we can't get it wrong. Then he showed me something fascinating. He brought out two students. The first one could explain every nuance of a complex move, the angle, the timing, the physics behind it. The second student couldn't explain any of it. But when asked to demonstrate, he executed the move flawlessly. The sensei looked at me and said, knowledge without action is just philosophy. Action with knowledge becomes power. You see, there's a physics to success that most people don't understand. Just like a rocket needs to break through the atmosphere's resistance to reach orbit, success requires breaking through the resistance of inaction. And here's the crucial part: the longer you wait, the more force you need to break free. Many of you right now are trapped in what I call the paralysis of analysis. You're gathering more information, attending more seminars, reading more books, wait if you're ready. But let me tell you something powerful: readiness is a myth. Action creates readiness. Action creates confidence. Action creates results. Think about learning to ride a bicycle. Could you have learned by reading a manual? By watching videos, by analyzing the physics of balance? No, you learn by doing. You learn by falling. You learn by getting back up and trying again. The same principle applies to every area of success. Let me break down the action formula for you. First, understand that action doesn't require perfection, it requires initiation. The first step doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be taken. When you're climbing a mountain, you don't need to see the entire path to take the first step. Second, realize that momentum is your greatest ally. A body in motion stays in motion. Once you start taking action, each subsequent action becomes easier. It's like pushing a heavy boulder. The hardest part is getting to move that first inch. Third, and this is crucial, understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a component of success. Every action, whether it leads to success or failure, provides data, and data is the raw material of progress. I met a young entrepreneur in Dubai who exemplified this formula perfectly. She started a business by selling homemade cookies from her kitchen. She didn't wait to have a perfect business plan. She didn't wait to have a storefront. She didn't wait to have investors. She just started baking and selling. Each sale taught her something. Each rejection refined her approach. Each mistake improved her recipe. Today, she owns a chain of bakeries across the Middle East. Not because she knew everything when she started, but because she started before she knew everything. You see, the world doesn't reward people who know everything. It rewards people who do something with what they know. Knowledge is potential power. Action is power manifested. But here's what stops most people. They're waiting for the fear to go away before they take action. Let me tell you something. Fear never goes away. The successful people you admire aren't fearless. They've just learned to take action while being afraid. The action formula is simple but profound. Start before you're ready. Learn from doing, not just from studying. Just based on results, not just on theory. Think about water. When it's still, it becomes stagnant. But when it moves, it stays fresh. It creates paths. It overcomes obstacles. Your potential is like water. It means movement to come alive. Nobody can take action for you. Nobody can move your feet down the path. Nobody can turn your knowledge into results except you. The action formula works, but only if you work it. So let me ask you, what action have you been postponing? What knowledge are you hoarding without applying? What first step are you waiting to take? Because here's the truth. The distance between where you are and where you want to be is measured in actions, not intentions. And the time to act is not tomorrow, next week, or when you feel ready. The time to act is now. Everything in your life at this very moment is the result of decisions you have made or decisions you have refused to make. But right now in this room, you face the ultimate decision, the decision that will determine this moment becomes a turning point or just another pleasant conversation you'll soon forget. I learned about the power of this decision in the most unexpected place, a hospital room in Singapore. A young executive had just received devastating news about his health. The doctors had given him two options: accept his condition and manage it with medication, or completely transform his lifestyle. As I sat with him, he said something I'll never forget. You know what's strange? For the first time in my life, I don't have the luxury of procrastination. I don't have the comfort of maybe tomorrow. I have to decide right now who I'm going to be. You see, most people don't understand that indecision is a decision. Every moment you postpone making a conscious choice, you're unconsciously choosing to remain exactly where you are. Every time you say, I'll start tomorrow, you're deciding that today doesn't matter. But here's the truth that will either liberate you or haunt you this moment, right now, is the youngest you will ever be for the rest of your life. This moment is the furthest point from your dreams you will ever be if you decide to move toward them. That executive, he didn't just change his diet and exercise routine, he transformed his entire life. Today, he runs marathons and teaches others about wellness, not because circumstances forced him, but because he made the ultimate decision, the decision to stop waiting and start becoming. You see, there's a fundamental difference between interest and commitment. You're interested in changing your life. You do what's convenient. When you're committed, you do what's necessary. The ultimate decision isn't about what you want to achieve. It's about who you decide to become. Right now, in this moment, you have two choices. You can walk out of here inspired but unchanged, carrying the same pattern, same excuses, same limitations that brought you here. Or you can make the decision that this is your moment, the moment when everything changes. Nobody else can make this decision for you. Nobody can choose your future for you. Nobody can decide who you become except you. The power of now isn't just about timing. It's about taking complete ownership of your destiny. So let me ask you one final question. When you leave here today, who are you deciding to be? Are you deciding to remain the person who knows what to do but doesn't do what they know? Or are you deciding to become the person who turns knowledge into action, dreams into reality, potential into power? Because here's what I know for certain: the life you want, the success you dream of, the impact you're meant to make, they're all waiting on the other side of this decision. Not a decision about what you'll do someday, but a decision about who you'll be today. The ultimate decision isn't about adding more to your life. It's about drawing a line in the sand and saying, from this moment forward, I take complete ownership of my destiny. From this moment forward, I stop waiting and start creating. From this moment forward, everything changes. That decision begins now. What's yours going to be? Your life is speaking to you through every challenge that tests you, every dream that haunts you. Every morning you wake up knowing you're capable of more. Life is trying to tell you something. It's telling you that nobody will do it for you because nobody else can. Remember the painter in Paris, still waiting for her moment. Remember David, who turned a janitor's cart into an empire. Remember Olivia, who finally spread her wings and soared. Their stories aren't just inspirational tales. They're mirrors reflecting your own potential back to you. But potential without action is like a seed without soil. It holds life within it. But that life will never see the light of day unless you plant it, unless you nurture it, unless you take responsibility for its growth. The price of waiting is too high. The cost of inaction is too great. And the person you're meant to become is too important to be left in the realm of someday. So I challenge you, no. I dare you to make this moment different. To make this the moment when you stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for someone else to validate your dreams. Because you were born with wings, you were born with greatness inside you. You were born for more than waiting, more than watching, more than wondering what if. The time is now. The person is you, and the decision is yours. Nobody will do it for you, but you don't need them to. Because you are enough. You always have been. Now go create. Become, soar. Your destiny is waiting.